All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start that conversation on State of the Nation. We'll obviously talk about the Sagana 3 meeting and the dailies as well. Let me introduce my guest real quick. Professor Tom Ojienda is here, Senior Counsel and Advocate of the High Court. Asante sana. Samson Cherargei, Senator Fernandi is also with us here in studio. Asante sana for making time. And Dr. Evans Kidero, former Nairobi Governor, is also here with us in studio. We're still waiting for Dr. Kimani Wamatangi, Senator for Kiambu. As soon as he comes in, we'll usher him in. He was at the Sagana 3 meeting. We'll find out if he's going to join us in just a bit, all right? Let's start off with the dailies. And first of all, before we even go there, Cherargei, let me get your reaction for the Sagana 3 meeting. What did you make of it? Were you surprised of the endorsement? Were you surprised of the pronouncements? What happened?
Good morning, Trevor, and it's good to be back. I think it is not surprise because the president before has indicated that he will support Raila Odinga. So the beans we were waiting to be spilled never happened. Secondly, the president before, and it is very unfortunate that the president before has insisted that the handshake was not about succession politics. But the cows have come home, and it has been confirmed, as I said on this program before, that the president, the handshake of 2018 was meant to propel Raila Odinga to presidency. Number 3 is that although I'm not an authority in Mount Kenya politics, and as a Kenyan, an observer, as a leader, it is unfortunate that these people did reduce a president to regional and tribal kingpin, because the handlers have succeeded. The president of the Republic of Kenya is a symbol of national unity. Is a person that whenever he makes pronouncement, it must come. But the pronouncement that were made yesterday by the president look pedestrian as opposed to reality. Because if he says, don't support so-and-so as presidential candidate, don't support so-and-so, is in short becoming a divisive figure, which was not envisaged under the Constitution. So from where we are, these people and his handlers have decided to reduce him as a tribal kingpin. If the president wanted to comment anything about the running affairs, he owes the country the position. And it is the 5th comment I want to make is that this is the worst and the lowest that the president of Republic has sung. President Moi never did this. President Kibaki never did this. Where you call a meeting of a tribe, go and berate and complain. You know, for example, if the president says, made wild allegations that corruption is in government, and he's complaining like any ordinary Olopoloi on the street by saying so-and-so stole money, took to the church, but he has instruments of prosecution like DCI, EACC, and it comes to a point that I've insisted that the fight against corruption in this republic has been weaponized strategically for political convenience. And finally, I was a bit shocked when the president decided to attack the church. I saw the ACK. I don't know why the mainstream media did not report this. The ACK bishops, I think last week or thereabout, did indicate that and call upon the President Uhuru Kenyatta to keep off succession politics. I don't know, that could be the reason that made the president worked up, but it is unfortunate to attack the church at this point in time. We should not in any way attack the church. The church has been in existence more longer than even the Republic of Kenya, and even all of us. So by and large, there was nothing new, the usual same ranting, and you know, it's very sad that the president of the Republic can rant, but we wish him well, and we hope he can keep off succession politics and allow Kenyans to choose the leaders of their choice. All right.
Professor Ojienda, what did you make of the meeting?
Thank you for the question. Let me say that the Sagana 3 meeting is historic. It is historic as opposed to what learned friend Cherargei is saying, because it defines and sets pace for succession. The president, like any other voter, and within his central Kenya backyard, was speaking not just to the attendants or to those who came to Sagana, but also to the mountain or to the people, his community. And he's simply telling this community And there was a deliberate choice, Trevor, of language. The lingua is important. The president chose to speak in his Kikuyu mother tongue to direct his people where they should go. And he told them, he pointed them to the direction of Raila V. I think that is ingenious, because this is not, the president is not your everyday person. He is the CEO of the country. He has experience in governance. He has served his second term. And remember, this is a president telling you that I've served with His Excellency William Ruto for 2 terms. Nevertheless, I believe that the best bet for the presidency of this country is His Excellency Raila Odinga. And I think the president cannot simply be speaking out of inexperience. He's speaking out of experience. Let me give this a historical perspective, why Sagana is key. On the 12th and 13th March 1966, we have a comparative in the Limuru Conference, when then the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, of course, he whipped the wing of KANU that supported him. And that time, the late Tom Mboya was minister and had allies in the central cabinet of KANU. He had Gishuru, he had Njonjo, he had others. And they then moved a motion then, I remember 27th of February 1966, to have the Limuru conference. And that Limuru conference redefined governance in this country. This was a deputy president, a vice president then, Odinga, going through a process that basically stripped him off of his position. And when presidents speak and take measures such as the one that we have seen in the current, in the Sagana 3, it speaks a lot. 202, the same thing for George Saitoti. If you read Goldsworth, you will find that then in 202, when Moi held an NDC of the party in Kasarani, and then the other presidents, vice presidents of KANU were appointed, that was the end of Saitoti's political career. So all vice presidents and all vice presidents who were previously served under presidents have had their stints. This is the stint of His Excellency William Ruto. His boss has spoken. His boss has pointed to the direction. Remember 1966, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga's fate was sealed. He had allies. He had Kagia, he had Kali, he had Achieng' Oneko on his side then. But they were minority. Kenyatta had Mboya, Gishuru, and the others, Njonjo, in the central camp of KANU then. They had their day in the Limuru conference, and that sealed the fate of Jaramogi. By a comparative, the fate of His Excellency William Ruto is sealed. Sagana has sealed it. Why? Because when William Ruto came to power as a running mate of His Excellency President Uhuru in 2013 and went for a second term, the handshake redefined his relationship with His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. And remember, Ruto was not your everyday deputy president. He came to the president's backyard and took his people. That's the difference. And that's why the president had to speak in his mother tongue, his Kikuyu language, to whip the emotions of all those Kikuyu people and the mountain who still believe that Ruto is their best choice. And I'll tell you this, Trevor. Sagana 3 will change the direction of the mountain towards Raila Odinga V.
Okay.
And watch this space.
All right.
He'll be the president of this country.
Kidero, what do you make of this?
Trevor, we know our history. We know that in 2002, Uhuru did not make it, but they were with Ruto. And then when 2013, they vied together. And I think the president meant well to work with Ruto through and through. And you'll remember there's one time he said Uhuru 10, Ruto 10. But when things changed, the president being a man of integrity, he needed to let people know what made him change. So he had to explain why they fell out. And he said so that instead of working and serving the people. Other people were busy on top of sunroofs and vehicles when he was busy building the nation. He owed that explanation to the Kenyan people, and he owed that explanation to his supporters. The second thing is, I find the president to be a very interesting man. He seems to be a student of Plato and Socrates, and I think he must have read the Republic quite a lot of time. And you remember Socrates said that democracy, a lot of the people, democracy is left to people who do not understand. And there's the question, I think, would you get into a plane where the pilot is not qualified? And to a large extent, voters go by the mass hysteria. So he needed to educate the voters that Kenya, like a plane, is carrying all of us. It needs to be left to a captain and a pilot who lead it properly. And that's what he was doing yesterday, not only to the people of the mountain, but to Kenyans as a whole.
Gerard, let's talk about the reasons the president gave. One of them is, he said, you cannot give us huge amounts of dubious money and then tell us which way to go while carrying the Bible. It was a direct accusation on graft, and he was pretty much laying this on the doorstep of his deputy.
That is why I said before that that was ranting by the president and behaving pedestrian manner, because what difference does it make? Excuse me. What difference does it make with an ordinary Kenyan on the street if a whole president is complaining that there is corruption? He's saying he knows where corruption money is, how it was planned, and he's in charge of government. For heaven's sake, he's the CEO of a government. And I've said here and before, if the fight against corruption in this republic was genuine, then the fight would have been won. Because if a president says money has been lost, and you know, he has admitted before, even before the media, that 2 billion Kenya shillings are lost daily by the government, which is in charge, is the CEO of the country. In fact, the myth that has been peddled, and many people want to believe, is that this was a co-presidency. This was not a co-presidency. We had only one president, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, and the deputy president, William Ruto. All these gentlemen, the president was the man calling the shots and making decisions. So if a president starts complaining, yet he has the institutions like DCI, EACC, judiciary, can prosecute anybody who has plundered the public money, then he goes ahead and so he complained before the Mount Kenya, which are Kenyans just like all of us, by saying money has been stolen in government. So what happens? So the question should be, we need to be genuine in our conversation, because even I heard the president says he has performed well under handshake, he's living at 13 trillion
we'll talk about his track record in a minute.
Of course, okay. So what I'm just saying in a snapshot is that the politics of betrayal and deceit and political conmanship must come to an end. The president realized that deputy president is much ahead. He has the 70% of the country's vote, and therefore he is aware that, and you know, William Ruto, by the way, for record, has never lost an election. In fact, this will be the 5th win as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. So, by you know, and you know, you don't attack the church. You know, if the proceeds, you know, for heaven's sake, you know, by the way, the president is interesting because he has been mentioned in Pandora's box. He is here to tell the country why his name appeared there. It is easy to follow the proceeds of money. Why is it hard for him to tell us through EACC and DCI the proceeds of corruption has been stolen from this place, has been donated to this church? Why would the president be complaining like you and me? Yet he's in charge of a government. So that is a pedestrian statement that are made in public barazas, and it can be a good conversation, a bad talk in the evening. But he should be aware that he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. He should stop misleading Kenyans. He should stop attacking the church. The church is a moral compass in the Republic of Kenya. If the church, and you know, when we see the attacks against the church, we know where they're coming from. Why would you attack a church? Yet the church in itself is a moral compass.
Yeah.
You have an obligation. It doesn't mean that when you go to church and give an offering, and all of us here are Christians, you give what you ability to give.
Okay.
There is no day that the church says, since you are an ex-governor or you want to be the governor of Homa Bay, you must give more. And since you're a senator, you must give less. I think the bottom line should be, let us allow the church to be, and divorce the church from the politics of the day.
Okay. Prof, isn't it a sign of failure when the head of state himself says that some money was lost, but there's really no criminal proceedings going on? He has the instruments of power. He has the institutions with him. Why can't he go and give them evidence and say, you know, this is my deputy, this is what is stolen, let's deal with it?
I think, Trevor, that corruption and acts of corruption are well defined by the law. And I think we must distinguish corruption as set out in the law and as pursued through the administrative and other legal processes, investigation through the DCI, and of course prosecuted through the courts, via the three acts, the Ethics and Integrity Act, the Anti-Corruption Economic Crimes Act, of course we have the Public Officer Ethics Act, all those statutes, and of course POCAMLA, that define and that create a framework for fighting corruption are all out there. And I believe whenever we have corruption charges profiled against an individual, there would be a process that would include investigations, presentations of files to the EACC, and then finally a decision made by the DPP to charge or not to charge. Often corruption cases will be won on the basis of the veracity or strength of the evidence presented before court. I think the struggle here, and that struggle is perhaps what informs what the president is speaking to. He's simply saying that I know that there may be acts that may have been committed. He's speaking to the public person. I think what the president speaks politically must not be confused or must be contradistinct from the legal procedures for fighting corruption. I think that's where Cheragre is missing here. I don't think the president is talking to an offense. He's saying there are general acts here, there are general questions. And this is a political speak because he's speaking to the public.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't quite point fingers exactly. He seems to generally speak and say that, you know, there are associations, and herein lies the church. He's simply telling the church, don't just accept any sum of money donated to you. Please question, do not go to bed with monies whose source you do not understand or do not know.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's speaking to. So I think that the president, like any other citizen, of course, if he has evidence, would complain to the agencies to investigate. And then when you investigate, there's a process that follows. And of course, I think on the pointed question of the Aror Kimarer question, there are two things that are clear. One, there's a legal process that has specific individuals charged in court, including the former Minister of Finance. That is ongoing.
Yeah.
But secondly, I am aware that there's an arbitration on this question going on in Dubai. So that's also a legal process that is going on. So you must distinguish between the public speaking, the public speak, the political public speak, and the legal processes that are going on. I think that's important for us to understand.
Okay.
As a lawyer, and I understand this question. So let us, whenever the president makes a speech against it, he was speaking to the church.
Okay.
And I think it is not, the church is a moral compass, yes.
Yeah.
But he was speaking to the church, and specifically perhaps to certain pastors within the Sagana 3 meeting.
Okay.
But before governor comes in, the question should be, how can the church, do church have systems on how to verify where this money has come from? Because, you know, he's a lawyer, you know there should be some standards that you now, the church, maybe you go to a church somewhere, and before you give maybe 50,000 or 100,000, the church can have a way of checking whether that money comes from crimes or proceeds. I think the best person now, the president, who should be the one preventing those proceeds of crime going to the church, is complaining, yet he has the power to do what we call the money trail. Yeah.
Okay. Kidero, what do you make of this? Because the issue here is then, if he has the powers and his instruments of power in the institutions that deal with corruption, why would he complain like an ordinary Kenyan?
First of all, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that Mheshimiwa is saying that the president was ranting.
You could
I didn't, because I mean, ranting is, the president was not angry when he was talking, actually, most of the time. He was laughing as he was doing his presentations, both in Kikuyu, in English, and throwing a few words in English here and there. So I didn't see, because ranting is very derogatory. The president wasn't ranting at all. He was, as I said earlier before, he was presenting what he knows and why he is not supporting his deputy for presidency to run this country in the future. And on what he said, basically the say is, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And the deputy president is just not an ordinary citizen. He can get a lot of things done by word, and you'll never get, you'll never quite connect it to him, because he will not be signing any documents. There'll be no direct association. So the president was just telling the church that please be a little bit careful. Don't be guilty by association.
So that is simply what he's trying to say. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but I'd like to see some of your feedback that's coming through here. Musoma Jr., quite a number of them. Anthony Khan says the prosecuting bodies are independent institutions in Kenya. Once information on graft is public, it's upon them to act. The president can only tell who the thief is, but cannot arrest or prosecute. That's what he did at Sagana 3. President speaking in mother tongue is not good as a country, but encouraging tribalism, not a symbol of unity, but a politician, and it is a political season. Tomorrow he may recant whatever he said, and yet we have witnessed it. Let's talk about this issue of speaking in mother tongue, because that will come up in just a bit right after the break. The Musoma JM says the president complaining about his deputy being corrupt is not a sign of failure. Prosecution is a prerogative of the independent institutions, and DP can influence investigations. The church being a moral compass doesn't mean that they should not be corrected. All right? Listening to the president's intonation, poses, word choices, emphasis, body language, and microphone adjustments, he will surely ensure that Raila gets to State House. That's according to Moses Mbeya. And then Sam Masika says there's nothing serious that led to Ruto fallout. It was just malice and fear of the unknown through the handshake. Ruto's purported corruption is baseless since he was cleared of any wrongdoing by EACC in the Aror and Kimorer Dam. All right, let's talk about the handshake and the track record when we come back from the break. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak.